Welcome to Sales After Dark, because money never sleeps. I got a lot of people on me now on the chat. So again, if you're watching me on the replay, fast forward about 3 to 5 minutes. I gotta say hi to my people here real quick. Let's see who's on the chat. Tonight I got a good one, man. It's all about Simon Sinek tonight. If you don't know who he is, you will by the end of this live stream. First one up, Nyla Monet. Hello everyone. Hello to you, Brian Gator from Las Vegas, man. We got my man Tony. All of a sudden, love the intro music. Sounds like something I jammed to. I mean, it's a good workout song, man. Mia Knox, West Coast. Always glad to have you here. Morning from Indonesia, Kurd Kusanagi. Did I get that right, Kurd? Let me know. Leon from Jamaica. Iron Man. I love it. Herb. Monday Eve. Tomorrow we make more money, man. That's what we call it, Monday Eve. And my man, my Boricua, my homie, mi hermano from Puerto Rico, Juan Rivera. By the way, he represents a company called Fast Signs in Puerto Rico. Great company, man. They do a lot of signs, banners, and all that cool stuff. Awesome individual, man. So if you're in Puerto Rico or in the Caribbean somewhere, give Juan a call if you need something. Juca, glad to have you back, man. I missed you, brother. I missed you, man. Where you been? And then Erica Stafford, Mr. Antonio. Erica, right back at you. I'm all good here. And then Luigi Giovanetti, man. Now part of my weekly routine. Glad you're here, Luigi, man. Love that you're here. Baton Rouge checking in the house. Chris C. All right. So I thought I'd do something different on these live streams. Let me say, I got Dean checking in last minute from Guyana, man. You're in, Dean, you're in. All right. So I wanted to do, I don't know if you guys know who Simon Sinek is. Great speaker. So one of the questions I often get is, Victor, you know, I do a lot of, well, I used to before the pandemic, a lot of large keynotes. And I don't know, check me out on YouTube. I think I'm pretty good, right? And so I'm that guy that when I'm watching other speakers, it's really hard for me because when I'm watching other speakers, it's almost like you can see all the things they're just not doing right. And it's really torture sometimes to watch speakers because you go, said that wrong, don't do that. And so, again, it's really hard for me to enjoy speakers. But the one speaker that I have been consistently enjoying, every time I run across one of his videos, the guy just consistently, I keep enjoying his speeches, is Simon Sinek. Now, what's interesting about Simon Sinek, so let me just frame this conversation tonight. Tonight I'm going to show you how using your personal style, you can be an effective communicator. I'm also going to show you, I know there's organizations like Toastmasters, which I love, who'll tell you what rules of speaking you need to abide by in order to be a great speaker. I'm going to show you that you really have to come up with your own style of speaking. You really have to do it your way. And one of the things I like about Simon Sinek is that he violates a lot of rules. I'm going to show you what rules he violates, but it doesn't matter because the content is good. The delivery, even the delivery seems awkward at times, is good. But if you really study this guy, because I'm telling you, I was listening to there's a website on YouTube called Motivational Madness. Check them out, Motivational Madness, also known as Daily Motivations, Motivational Madness. And they always got these great videos of speakers, right? And so one popped up, obviously, you know, the AI, the artificial intelligence knew I liked Simon Sinek, so they popped a new one up. And I listened to it this morning as I was doing my walk, and I go, all right, I'm just gonna deconstruct this one because this one is so good. It's so good. I got notes, man. I worked hard on this one, man. I got notes. Okay, I got notes. So what I did is I grabbed the video and I chopped it up into pieces. So it's not gonna be me talking. I'm gonna show you Simon speaking, and then we're gonna deconstruct what Simon is doing. Okay, what Simon Sinek is doing. And like I said, he's probably, like when people ask me, you know, who do you like admire as a speaker? And again, very hard for me to find somebody because I like the old school guys. Like to me, with like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, they had a certain style. Now, there's a lot of powerful speakers out there. You know probably a few of them that are just powerful, right? I know a lot of powerful speakers. I don't want to mention any more names because then people get mad at me because I don't mention their name, right? A lot of powerful speakers out there, but I want you to look at this guy because this guy is like the Larry Bird of speaking. Yeah, I'm going to make that connection. The Larry Bird of speaking. Here's why. So, I know you're going, where's he going with this, right? So Larry Bird, for those of you who are old enough to remember, Larry Bird played for the Boston Celtics, right? I think Larry Bird, in my opinion, is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. So I would put Michael Jordan, I would put Larry Bird in the top two, and then my personal favorite, George Gervin, the Iceman. I know nobody knows who he is, but I like that guy. But the reason I like Larry Bird is that he's one of these players that's just one of those all-around players, but he doesn't have, let's say, the physical ability or capabilities like a Michael Jordan, right? He doesn't have the leaping ability. He just doesn't have a lot of the tools that a lot of the best players have. And that's what that's what I love about him, because he doesn't have the tools, but yet he's going to go down as one of the greatest basketball players ever, because he doesn't have what you would consider, if I were to write a checklist, like, all right, to find a great basketball player, what's the checklist, right? And I'm telling you, vertical leap would be amongst them, right? Big, aggressive, that would be up there. Not that Larry Bird isn't aggressive, but he doesn't fit the archetype. What I like about Simon Sinek is he doesn't fit the archetype of what I consider a great speaker. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks this guy's a great speaker, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people think he's a great speaker. But let's go ahead and deconstruct this guy. Some of you guys just say, like, okay, cool. Some of you do know who Larry Bird is. And so let's go ahead. Like I said, I chopped up some videos into 1 to maybe 2 minute videos. And so let me just set up, and again, by the way, if you go to the description, especially on YouTube, I think you should have on Facebook also. By the way, I got to remind people, I got people coming in from Facebook, from YouTube, Periscope, so I got Twitch, so you guys are coming in from everywhere. But the description, I put the description of the video, the link for the video from Motivational Madness down there. And then I'm a fan of Simon Sinek, so if you haven't read the book, Start With Why, which I think is one of his better books. He just recently released, about maybe 6 months to a year ago, something called Infinite Game, which is another great book. So the guy's a great writer, and again, I want to look at his speaking style. So anyway, let's enjoy this. Okay, so the first clip. Now the first clip, this is like the layup. This is the easy one. But notice that what I want you to notice is in this clip, tell me if you catch what he does in this first clip. So in this first clip, all I want you to do is see if you can identify something that he does. And I'm looking for wooden word answers. But he does something really interesting. They interlace some video on top of the video. But really just listen. And again, it's a 1 minute clip. Let's just check out the first one. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on a second. I got to come back up here. I'm working my system here, folks. Working my system. All right, so let's look at number 1.
Here's a little issue we have in America today. There are currently about 250,000 people a year who are dying in our hospitals due to preventable deaths. And I'm not talking about negligence. I'm talking about little accidents, right? I'm talking about the doctor in the morning not properly briefing the doctor for the evening. I'm talking about things that we can't sue anybody. There's nothing that we can see that's wrong. But there's 250,000 preventable deaths every year. That's about 27 47s going down every single week. That's what's the equivalent to.
Now, again, I just wanted to start out with something simple. Did you see what he did? Did you see what he did with the number? See, he understands that people can't really relate to numbers. You can say 250,000, but it doesn't really mean a lot. People just like that. But you say 27 747s going down every week, all of a sudden you have this mental image. And it's powerful because when he uses that analogy, you can really grab on to what that number really means. So keep that in mind. Now, the next video, okay, so that was like the beginning of this whole series, right? So again, he's setting it up, right? He's setting it up. We got problems, right? And on this one, he's going to go deeper. And by the way, he's going to tie this into business management, taking care of people. That's kind of the whole subject here. Business management, taking care of people, and us taking care of each other, right? So in this clip, I want you to look at how he just sequences things. Watch the way he ties things. He goes this to that, to that, to that, leads to that. And that's why you have that. So his ability to use sequencing is a very powerful way to connect things, sequences, so you go, oh, that's what he's talking about. Here's what I mean. Let's go to the second video here.
But the problem is the same in our own companies. right? Which is we come to work and we're told, you must care for your clients, you must care for your customers, you must make them the focus of all you do, and yet why aren't the people who are managing us from the top caring about us? So, yes, in a hospital the impact is worse, but the impact that we're having on the outside world is just as bad. In other words, we're not working at our best. We don't care for the things we're doing. We're not helping each other is the most important part. And the residual impact is that we are unfulfilled by the work that we do. And when we're unfulfilled by the work that we do, we focus on the details, and when we focus on the details, we retract from each other. When we retract from each other, we feel lonely. And when we feel lonely, cancer goes up, heart disease goes up, diabetes goes up. In other words, by going to work, we're killing ourselves. Literally.
So he did several things in that thing that's just brilliant. Okay, the first one, he highlights hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is this, and this is kind of it's a stinger. You know what I mean? It's a stinger for the audience, because what he's doing is basically, he said, our management tells us that we need to look after our customers. But then he says the hypocrisy is, but management doesn't look out for us, right? So, I mean, right there, he's like, he's just given that form of hypocrisy. And then he talks about what's happening in this sequence, right? He talks about, because you feel unfulfilled, you focus on details, like, make sure this is done, that stuff. Then you start retracting because you start protecting yourself. And then he says you feel lonely and isolated within the company, and then you don't feel good about yourself, and people tend to get sick. And then he really hits that note, right? That we're literally killing ourselves, right? He says we're killing ourselves, literally, right? And what he's saying is that because we're not taken care of, feel like we're being taken care of, again, we don't enjoy going to work. But the highlight here is that he points out a management hypocrisy. And see, this is interesting because a lot of speakers will try to dance around that. He goes right in. He says, management, you're hypocrites, because people in that audience are managers. He says, you're a hypocrite, is basically what he's saying. And I love that, because when you challenge the audience like that, and then he gives them the reason, because when you don't take care of your people, here's what happens. He sequences it out, and then they're sick. They feel sick, heart disease, stress, the whole bit, and they're literally killing themselves. And I love the fact that he went after the management people and highlighted a hypocrisy. Now, this third one is interesting, because now this one, he goes for the visual. Now, the visual he paints is just like, it's not what you expect, but let me just play the clip, because it's when I was listening to this for the first time, I'm going, he's using phrases. Tell me what words. Okay, let's do an exercise. Tell me what words you grab from this small clip. Tell me what word or words you grab from this clip. Let me know, okay? Here is number 3.
I had the great honor last week of spending a week with the Marines. I spent a couple days at Camp Lejeune, and then I went for a few days to Paris Island to watch them go through boot camp. And this is a remarkable human experiment that they're doing. And even though they know what works, they don't know why it works, but they don't need to know why, because they know that it works, right? But what's happening is they're taking a group of strangers, people who don't know each other, who are showing up, and within a very, very short period of time, learn to trust each other so much that they would give their lives for each other. Right? And we know, anyone who's ever worn a uniform knows that no one runs into battle for God and country. It doesn't happen. It's for the guy to the left of me and the guy to the right of me. That's the reason they do what they do, right? And these sort of remarkable stories of heroism where people rush into very, very dangerous situations to save others. And they always ask the question, why did you do it? Why would you risk your life? Why would you put yourself at risk for them? And the answer is always the same, because they would do it for me. In other words, what gives them the confidence to put themselves at great risk is the knowledge that someone would do the same for them. We would put ourselves at great risk for our companies if we knew that our companies would put themselves at great risk for us. But they don't. So we don't.
Now, by the way, so hold on a second. So I'm going to unmute. By the way, somebody said they were getting feedback, so I just muted it so you can probably hear it better. Let me know if that sounds better, because I just kind of muted it while the video's playing. So what words popped out? What words popped out in that video that was powerful? Juka says trust, right? What else popped out in that? What like really impacted you? What hit you right here, man, that you go, oh, right? Because here's what I got from it, and I wrote it down. I said, when he said this, because he's asking a big question, why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's what he's asking. Why would you do that? And it forces the audience to go, yeah, why would they do that? And then he talks about, great, it's clear. And then he goes, they don't run into battle for God or country. Now, this is powerful because you got to realize it's a subtlety that he's using. He said God or country, right? Because he's making this universal for God or country. And then he says, we do it for the guy or gal to the left of us and to the right. Now, he could have just said, we just don't go into battle, for God, right? But it wouldn't complete it. When he uses God and country, he's covered everything. Whoever your God is, whatever your country is, I got it. But he's using two words because then he's going to hit you with the left and right. And it's a very subtle play on two words. He could have just used one word or he couldn't have used anything. He said, look, they go into battle not thinking about anything else but who's on the left or who's on the right. He could have done that, but he didn't. He said, they didn't do it for that and they didn't do it for that. Push it out there. They're doing it for that guy and that gal right there. And so that left and right thing makes it very emotional because you're like, wow, it's beyond God. It's beyond country. It's for the people right next to you. Because the big question is, why would you do it? Right? And so to me, that was it. Why would you do it? And that forces the audience to ask themselves some questions. Anyway, let me look at some of these comments, man. This is what happened to my colleague. The sales manager's hypocrisy added up to her misery. And yeah, man, I get that. Here, let me pop this one up. This is a good comment here. Somebody says, why not Michael Jordan? I like Michael Jordan, man. TJ, this was what happened to my colleague. The sales manager's hypocrisy added to her misery. I guess the stress she had was one of the reasons she got and died from cancer. And we'll never know, but I get your point, man. I really get your point. I do, man. Because they would do it for me. That's a beautiful line, right? Because they would do it for me, right? That right there is like why would you do it? Because they would do it for me. And, if you really listen to, and on the next one, watch the way he changes velocity. First of all, speed, and then the intonation as he goes through. And again, one of the things that's interesting about watching Simon Sinek do this is that notice how he's dressed. Casual, right? Notice he has one microphone in his hand, which means he's holding that thing, right? And he's very casual, very what? Conversational. And again, it makes it so informal. It's like a long story he's telling, which he kind of is. And so let me show you the next one is, this one I'm not even going to set it up. This one I'm just going to go for it. And I'll mute myself so you guys can hear it. But this one, I think this is my favorite actually. So listen to it. Let me know what you think.
It hurts. And when I say, well, tell me a story then that captures to you what it means to be a Marine, the feeling you have of being a Marine, tell me a story that captures it. And I expected to hear stories of, I took a hit and somebody saved me, or I ran into a firefight and pulled somebody. I expected these stories of heroism. Not a single story like that came out. Now, I'm sure those stories exist, but those aren't the stories they told me that capture what it means to be a Marine. One of the stories they told me was a young boy in Afghanistan who would come around every morning and sell kebabs to the Marines. And then one day he showed up and he was all beaten up. And he didn't go to his parents for help and he didn't go to his friends to help. He came to the Marines for help because he trusted them more than anyone else. They told me a story that captured how they feel of a village that had been overrun by the Taliban. And the residents of the village couldn't go home because they would be killed by the Taliban, and so they were just living by the river. The problem was winter was coming. And one of the elders came to the Marines, knocked on the door, and said, I need you to come down to the river and kill us. And the Marine said, what are you talking about? He says, if we go back home, we'll be killed by the Taliban, and if we stay out there, we're going to die slow deaths this winter. It's easier if you just come and kill us, please. The Marines overran the Taliban village, pushed the Taliban out. A year later, they went back to this village and people were playing volleyball. These were the stories they told me that capture what it means to be a Marine. They believe in doing good for others, and the fulfillment they get when they put themselves at risk so that others may prevail is overwhelming.
You gotta mute. So what's interesting about that, if you listen to it, the beginning part was when he asked them about stories. They didn't tell him the stories he expected to hear, the stories of how brave they were. these stories were totally unexpected, right? The little boy and then the river story, right? So these are stories that, you wouldn't expect, but immediately, whether you liked it or not, your brain started visualizing what that little boy would look like or what those people down by the river would probably be looking like, right? Winter's coming. And so it's interesting how it's not a story you expect to hear, but he inserts that. And is he going for the emotional connection? Oh yeah, he is. He's pulling you into that reality. He's pulling you into that reality and making you feel something. But he's also, again, he's not being cerebral. He's not being logical. He's not being rational. He's saying, look, let me tell you some stories about stories I've heard. And it's interesting because two words I walked away with: unexpected, and then the emotional appeal. But you begin to visualize certain things. So let me know what you think of that one, because I thought that was powerful, man. And then he shifts gears. Now watch what Sinek does. Now he comes off of this, right? He comes off of this story, which is like, right? It's like, this is like, it's gut-wrenching, it's inspiring. But then he makes a switch. He kind of changes it up a little bit, and this I admire.
It's called vulnerability and risk. We have to take the risk to make ourselves vulnerable. Yes, you might do something for someone else and they may not do something back for you. That's the risk you run. That's the risk you run. It's not about giving everything to them and sort of huge, big, overwhelming risks. It's about little things and little things. It's like going on a date, right? It's like if I went on a date with somebody, and I came home and I said, after one date, I said, I'm marrying her. And people are like, what are you, nuts? I'd be like, I'm in love. They're like, but this is crazy. I'm like, I know, I'm in love, She feels the same way. We both know it's nuts, right? Now you know that you're going to be like, go on a couple more dates, right? We know instinctively that the strong bond that needs to be created first takes more than a week, right? We know that, right? But if I've been dating somebody for 7 years and we haven't, married, you'd be like, dude, what is wrong, right? In other words, we know that it takes more than 7 days, and we know that it takes less than 7 years. The problem is, we don't know how long it takes. It's somewhere in the middle. All human bonds are the same. Like when you show up at work, when you show up for the first time, when you're new, don't expect that people will look out for you, and they won't expect you to look out for them in 7 days. It won't happen. But if you've been working at a job for a few years and you don't have the absolute confidence that if you turn your back you will not get stabbed, you can rely on somebody, you can give them something, nothing will go wrong, you will share the credit, no one will throw you under the bus. If you don't have that in a few years, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I don't know how long it takes, but I know that's more than a week, and I know it's less than 7 years.
So what I like about this clip, what I love about that clip is that, again, he shifted gears, got you out of the emotional, this is sad, and then he added some humor, right? And then he has a way of he has that boyish way of delivering the content. It's funny. But what's interesting is that, notice that he used that humor story about dating to set up a frame. And the frame was, I know it's got to be more than 7 days and less than 7 years. I don't know what it is, but it's somewhere in between there. And what he's saying is, and if you really listen to it again, he's setting that up. He says, if you're at a job and you're not appreciated and you can't trust people behind you, something's wrong. Now, I don't know. Maybe you haven't been there long enough, or maybe you've been there too long. In other words, it's more than 7 days, but it's probably less than 7 years. And it's little things over time. But that whole framing of is between here and here. Now, think about this in a sales presentation, because I've used the frame in a sales presentation. I'll say, look, Mr. Customer, your return on investment, I'm not going to promise you it's going to be in 3 months, but I know it's not going to take you 3 years. And that's kind of using a frame like that. So when he did that, I go, I love that, because that's what I typically do. Because customers say, well, when will I get my money back? When is the break-even point, Victor? I said, well, it's not going to be 3 months, but I can tell you it's not going to be 3 years. It depends on what you do in between. And that kind of sets a frame. And that's kind of what he's doing. And then he's having a little fun with it. Let me know what you think of that one, because I don't know. I thought that was an interesting video. So the next one I have for you, this one's interesting, because sometimes when you're doing a presentation, one of the things you want to do as a presenter is you want to pull people in, right? You want to get them in their heads to see things. You want to pull them in, right? And so in this clip, watch how he uses this simple tool, but really connects with them emotionally and it pulls them in and engages with them. And so what I loved about this one is that if you're speaking for a while, once in a while you almost have to pause, and you can drop humor, but sometimes you want to drop audience engagement. Now, you can be talking to an arena, and what he's going to do right now will work in an arena or a small group. That's what I loved about this exercise, because these are hard to find, but this is a great tool to engage people mentally to get them into the game. You guys ready? Here we go, man. Let me just show you this one. This one is clip number, I believe this one's clip number 6.
This is the responsibility of management, to take us under their wing and help us understand our own value to ourselves. Close your eyes and think back to high school. And think of that one teacher who took you under their wing and cared for you and looked after you and helped you realize that you are capable of more than you thought you were. And you probably are the person you are today in some part because of that person, right? Do you have that name? What's the name? Tell me the name. Tell me the name of the teacher. Okay, give me the name. Okay, I can point to anybody and you can tell me that name. Now tell me the names of all the other teachers you had that day. Can't remember them, can you? This is the power of those who teach us confidence. We will literally carry their names around with us for the rest of our lives. Wouldn't you want to be that person? Wouldn't you want to be the person that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I can do this exercise with somebody and they will tell me your name? This is the power of helping others realize their own strengths. This is what management and leadership is supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be caring for us and helping us realize our own value.
All right. I don't know about you, man, but that was a beast. That little module right there, I call it, that little module was a beast, man. All right, got some comments. Let me take some comments here real quick, and then I'll go back and analyze this one. Wow, yeah, this is for managers indeed. Most of the time I work on my own because my manager doesn't understand me being a B2B guy. Got it, man. Jing Yi, what you got, man? One thing in his talk, he tilts his head when he wants his audience to engage or draw them into the story. You're catching the body language, right? And I'm going to hit that later, Jing, because you know he really uses his body, and I think it's a couple more. I'll show you how he leans into his body and almost jumps into the scene with his body. But you caught the subtleties there because he's using that oh shucks, you know, that sympathy reach, right? I call this the sympathy reach. When you want your audience to sympathize with you, you do a sympathy reach. Stephen Winter said, master storyteller. I would agree with you, man. I would agree with you. The powerful thing about that one, on that one, is that you got to really just, I'm going to play this one again. Screw that. I'm playing this one. Let me play this one again because watch what he does. I mean, there's a part where he talks about managers and then he engages the audience, tells them to visualize, right? So now the audience is like, immediately into their heads, right? They go immediately into their heads, right? And they think of that one person. Like, did you think about that one person? I mean, seriously, did you think about? Because I did. When I heard this, I was like, yeah, what was that teacher's name? Oh yeah, and immediately, all these memories rushed into my brain, right? But then he just kills it. Notice how he lands. I always say you got to stick the landing, right? Stick the landing is when you get to an end of a story, you stick the landing. By stick the landing, I mean you get to the point, you just nail it, right? Listen to how he asked the question. The nailing question here is, wouldn't you like to be that person? Oh, it's just like, that's a gut punch, man. Here, you got to watch this again. This one's just, it's great, man. This one's just brilliant, man.
This is the responsibility of management, to take us under their wing and help us understand our own value to ourselves. Close your eyes and think back to high school. And think of that one teacher who took you under their wing and cared for you and looked after you and helped you realize that you are capable of more than you thought you were. And you probably are the person you are today in some part because of that person, right? Do you have that name? What's the name? Tell me the name. Tell me the name of the teacher. Okay, give me the name. Okay, I can point to anybody and you can tell me that name. Now tell me the names of all the other teachers you had that day. Can't remember them, can you? This is the power of those who teach us confidence. We will literally carry their names around with us for the rest of our lives. Wouldn't you want to be that person? Wouldn't you want to be the person that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, I can do this exercise with somebody and they will tell me your name? This is the power of helping others realize their own strengths. This is what management and leadership is supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be caring for us and helping us realize our own value.
Hold on a second. Notice that he just keeps banging away at the managers, right? Because this is really a management speech. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So he lands that. He says, wouldn't you like to be that person? Now imagine your manager is saying, wouldn't you like to be that person? And then he says, because that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, he's scolding the audience in a beautiful way. But the story where he lands on that, wouldn't you like to be that person? And then he says, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, what I love about that clip is that, the storytelling is beautiful already. When he asked that question, it was like, oh, it was just like brilliant. But then he added the cherry on top. He goes, that's what managers. And he didn't say that's what you. He just said, notice he doesn't say that's what you should be doing, because that would be an indictment. You'd be challenging too much. He says, that's what managers should be doing. And if you're a manager going, that's what I should be doing, man. So anyway, let me grab some comments here, man. I think that's my favorite clip, man. I got a couple more for you, man. Let me know if by the way, let me know if you like this format, just looking at some of these. I think these are pretty cool. Let me see. One thing is he talks, I got that one, master storyteller. And then Brian gave me the great analogy, creative visual on how we should perform as manager. Yes, great speaker. Do look him up, Leon. Do look him up. TJ. The teacher I won't ever forget is the guy reading this. You're too awesome, man. Thank you, man. What if you are self-taught? As a speaker, doesn't matter. This is a perfect example of a guy who really violates a lot of rules, right? I mean, just because his storytelling ability is he's doing it his way. And so you can be self-taught. It's just a matter of doing it right. Many of the managers need scolding. Like, Pete, I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you on that. Gotcha. TJ, thank you, man. So on this next one, so now this is where, again, I think what I want you to do is watch how he takes a phrase. This is like mastery level. And again, notice that Simon Sinek is not a power speaker. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have that wah, and he's not overly emotional. He's not like over the top. He's like, Tony Robbins, that whole thing. He's not doing any of that, right? He's not cussing at you. He's not swearing at you, like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? By the way, everybody has their own style, not criticizing. Everybody has their own style. But what I love about him, he has a very simple style. But it's just, the thing is, you're removing his speaking style removes all the distractions because it's just him. He's just talking. And there's no distraction. By distraction is he's not trying to hype the crowd. He's not using these overextended, gestures or anything. He's not using emotional impact, right? He's not cursing. He's not swearing. He's not doing any of that. He's just telling the story. And I think that's what makes him, this is why this guy stands out to me, because there is nothing flashy about this guy. He is as simple as apple pie, man, just like that. But yet, if you just close your eyes, man, boom, you're there, man. That to me is just like real power, man. Got a couple of comments here. Let me grab them. Dean, you notice he does have great hand gestures, by the way. He does. Simon says his story shows in layman's terms. Yeah, man. He's a good guy, man. Very calm, soft-spoken, but it hits you hard. See, that to me is what I admire the most, is that he's coming at you in a very soft way. And so let me do this next one. So on this one, oh, Cheryl, you missed it. Sorry to be late, Cheryl, but you're here. Glad to have you here. You missed a good one. Herb, I think this is a great comment. Humility works. Quiet tones make people shut up and listen. This is a beautiful statement, dude. Just because I mean that right there, dude. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that, Herb, man, because I think that's powerful. What you just said. It's humility, because he's not coming over the top. So often a lot of speakers are trained to be over the top. Really just and he's not doing that. It's this cleverness. I mean, like I said, if you deconstruct his speeches, it's just the way he's setting things. He sets them up, he knocks them down, sets them up. He sets management up, tells the human stories, stings them, and then says, here's what you should be doing, and then asks a powerful question just to really drive the point home. I mean, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Eccentric joined us from Atlantic City, man. Love it. Jing Yi, what do you got, man? It really comes from top owners and presidents who lay the groundwork for the culture to flourish, or being fearful repercussions of managers taking initiatives. That's right. I mean, this is like top down. By the way, Simon Sinek is all about corporate culture. Do you know what I mean? So your point is dead on, Jing, that, you know, when you got a guy like this, you know, really highlighting what people want and why they want to work at your company, it's a beautiful thing, man. So thank you for that. So let me see. The next one, again, this one, I'm going to put this one under the title of wordplay. He'll take a phrase, I say phrase play, doesn't sound right. He takes a phrase, gives it to you like this, and then he inverts the phrase. And your brain has to do this. Let me just do this again. He gives you a phrase, and then he inverts it, and your brain, watch what happens to your brain. When you're going to experience it right now. He flips the phrase, you go, inside your head, you're going to go, yeah, watch. I'm going to prove my point. Watch. This is clip number, I wasn't going to go through all of these, but why not? 7, here it comes.
In the military, they give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may gain. In business, we are willing to give bonuses to people who will sacrifice others so that we may gain. We have it backwards.
Do you see what I mean? All right, I'm going to show that one again because you have to see it again. You got one more time.
In the military, they give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may gain. In business, we are willing to give bonuses to people who will sacrifice others so that we may gain. We have it backwards.
Dude, I mean, did he just cut or what? It's like, yeah, he just cut, but you see how he does it? He does it in such a charming way, you can't get mad at the guy. He basically said, look what the military does. They give medals to people who are willing to sacrifice. In business, we give rewards to people who will sacrifice other people. And he's basically saying, are you one of them? But he's not saying it. Man, it's just like, you walk, you know, if you're a manager, that was an ouch moment. But again, notice how just that clever, I mean, I know it took him a while to write that line, right? That flipping of the phrase. It's not something you just like that. I mean, he wrote that thing out, and he must have had, and then what typically happens when you have a line like that, if you invert the phrase, you begin to see the power of it. And I think when he wrote the phrase out, he goes, but yeah, management does the opposite, which is sacrifice other people for their gain. And I mean, that right there is a beautiful line, man. That is a beautiful line. Now in this one, and it's got 2 more, really 1.5, because the last one's really short. Now, on this one, what I want you to look out for is body language. Somebody mentioned it earlier, I forgot who it was, but you mentioned body language. Watch what he does as he's telling the story, but then also catch the third person voice. And you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll see it, watch. So I'm gonna show you this clip. Just
I'm not talking about big things, little things. If you start doing little things for each other, the amazing anthropological response is other people will start doing little things for others too. I was walking down the street 2 days ago, and a guy's backpack was open and a whole bunch of paper fell out as he was walking down the street. And I happened to be behind him, and so my friend and I just we were in mid-conversation, and in mid-conversation, we never even stopped talking. We just bent down, helped him gather his papers, hand them back to him, pointed out that his backpack was unzipped, and he said thanks, and we walked on. It was like no big deal, right? We get to the end of the street, and we stand we're waiting to cross the street. We're still talking, we haven't stopped talking. And the guy in front of us turns to us and says, I saw you help that guy. That was really cool. But here's what's great about that. The guy will go do something for someone else simply because he saw us bend down and pick up paper for someone else. He will actually go do something for someone else because of it, right? He won't give to charity because he sees me put $1 in a cup, but he will actually help someone because he saw someone also help someone. Little things. Hold a door open for someone. Say thank you to the person who holds the door open for you. Smile to the barista. Little things. Put your foot in the subway when the door is closing so someone who's running will make it. Hit the open at the elevator. Don't go... Or pretend you didn't see. That's the best one. You know? Oh, I would have if I saw. Sorry. Right? Do it. A little time and a little energy. And you'll find around work that people give a little time and a little energy back to you.
So on that one, I mean, you can see the body language on that one. So that he did several things in that one that was really interesting. One, he gets you into the scene about him and his friend talking, and he bends over to help pick up the paper, but they're still talking, right? That was one aspect. So he puts you into the scene. Notice when you turn your body away from the audience like this, now you're in the scene. And so it's like the audience for a moment is watching a play. It's a play being acted out, which is brilliant, right? Turns back, and then he says he gets to the corner, and there's a guy there who turns back and says, I saw what you did. That was pretty cool. He said, oh. And so now he's having a conversation with third person, and you swear you see that third person. Your mind's there. And then he said, I could put money in a cup, and he does this. I could put money in a cup, all right? Just money in a cup, and nobody will do anything, but do one thing, and then so forth and so on. And again, if you go back and listen to the clip, it's just his intonation throughout the whole thing, and then he slides in humor. When he slid in humor, did you notice how he kind of took a step back like this because he's stepping into the elevator. I mean, it's so subtle. If you don't look for it, you won't see it. But he goes, it's like when you step in the elevator, right? And you go, oops, I couldn't reach it. Sorry. He does the whole things that little things that we've probably done, right, to make you feel a little guilty. Let me know what you think of that clip, because I thought that clip was pretty cool, man. And then I'll wrap up with this last clip. All right, so this last clip, it's a real short one. It's just the end. But I wanted you to see the end, and then let's talk about it.
And you'll give a little more time and a little more energy. You go for a coffee with someone. Then you go for a 2-hour coffee. Then you go for a coffee and a lunch. Then you go for a lunch and a dinner. Then you go for a dinner and a movie. And then you sleep over. And then you sleep over 2 nights. And then you go on holiday together. And eventually you get married. Right? It's slow. It takes time. And we can't rush it. If when we rush it, it's all fake. Do things for others and watch how much others do for you. Go get yourself a cup of coffee from the coffee machine in the morning. Make one for someone else. It takes a little extra time. It takes a little extra energy. That's the point. That's the point. And here's the best part. You will feel so good at the end of the day. So good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, all right. Look at that ending. Zero flash, just simple thank you. And he still got a beautiful round. I mean, maybe he got a standing ovation. We'll never know. But the fact that he just closed with a simple statement and a thank you, and he got that immediate feedback, the applause, is an indication that that's how badass he is. That's the only way of putting it, man. When you can finish something off, finish something and just go, da-da-da-da, thank you. And you get I mean, that's power. I mean, that means you did well, man. That is just like a badass ending. Again, it doesn't have the hype, the noise, the big, it doesn't have any of that. It just has a simple thank you at the end. Audience reacts. And it's an amazing thing. And then he does that whole thing, and the one thing, that whole thing. And again, it's just like, anyway, I hate the guy. I kind of like him, but I hate him. I hate him and like him at the same time. Because like I said, what I really like about Simon, I don't hate anything about it. I just hate the fact that he's that good. But it's just the fact that there's so many things that if you deconstruct, the Simon Sinek speech, it's just so many things you see in there on how to become a great speaker. The storytelling aspect, the intonation, the velocity, how he carries a whole audience with him. And then in there, he's inserting humor. He's inserting those stingers, right? Those little subtle, whap that, later on you go, oh yeah, that kind of was like aimed at me. But if you also notice, is that as you were listening to all this, Did he really tell you anything you hadn't heard before? And the answer is probably not much. Maybe a couple of new things you heard in a different way, but there wasn't anything revolutionary, right? Because the best ideas have already been created. They're out there already. But it's the people who can deliver those stories in such a way, in such a compelling way, that makes you want to go, oh, I knew that. And Simon Sinek is to me a great reminder speaker. He reminds you of what you already know. He reminds you of what you don't think about often, that you go, yeah, I should be doing that. I know I need to be doing more of that. And that's what makes him, because he digs in emotionally, man. He just yanks your heart out, holds it in his hand. He goes, I know what your heart's all about. Now I'm going to talk to your heart. That type of thing. But anyway, let me know what you guys got for comments. That's all I have for tonight. I thought I'd do something different. TJ said, so good indeed. He's great, man. Exactly. I think that's what we're lucky. I think we're lucky as well, if that's what you meant. Simon is fantastic. He's like the Joel Osteen of motivational speaking. No, I'm not going to give you that one. No, can't do that one, Todd. Can't do that. I know Joel Osteen. I like Joel Osteen. This is my Bible. I got that guy. But this is at another level, man. I like Joel Osteen. Don't get me wrong. I like Joel Osteen, but this is like another level, man. This is like, it's another level, I think. Like I said, Joel Osteen's up there, and Joel Osteen has, by the way, the similarities, though, let's agree on this, I think, is the quiet power. Do we agree on that, Todd? They both have quiet power. Do you know what I mean? I love the quiet power. I think we can agree on that. But I think, everybody has their favorite. So if that's your guy, I'll take Sinek. He's my guy. It's just something that's cool. When you help others, it feels great. Absolutely. The step back was a mic drop. Yeah, yeah, man, it's good stuff. Great video. Thank you, man. Sparrow's Tail, what do you got? I like no BS he is. Just straight wisdom and fact. Just straight down the middle. Great storyteller. Simon is one of the best in TED Talks, which is where I found him originally. And I read his book, Start With Why, and I thought that in itself was really powerful, Juke. It was like, it's a great book, has a lot of great stories in there, but a lot of his content, a lot of his videos that are online it's really good content, man. So let me see, Herb Wash is chiming in and says, the icing for me is that his speech had critique with answers on what to do and with politeness. Yes, so if you notice what he does, he'll tell you something. You caught it, Herb, right? He tells you something, gives you a story, hits you with the wisdom, and he says, but here's what you can do. Here's what you need to think about. And he almost saying that he's almost telling the audience you're not powerless. You can't do a lot of big things, but there's a lot of little things you can do. Maybe you can't do everything, but you can start paying attention, right? And people go, okay, I can pay attention, I can do little things. And so in a sense, his speech empowers people to look within themselves and say, I can do something and I can control something, which is the little things I do, my attitude towards my fellow man or woman. You know what I mean? He says things like that. And I'm with you on that. There's little things in that I just kind of emphasize that. Good point, Matt. Great point. Simon presents in such a natural and calming way. It's like sitting with your best friend, well rehearsed, but does not come off as well rehearsed. There. The thing is, it's rehearsed. You know why I know it's rehearsed? Even his oh shucks are rehearsed. Because when you watch the same speech at another venue, right? So you got the same speech, but he did it at another event. Let's say I saw one where he did one at a Google, right? And I'd seen the speech already. And when he did it at Google, the same intonations were there. The same oh shucks moments were there, right? All the little things were there. So the brilliant part about what he does is that he makes it look like it's not rehearsed, but it's rehearsed. Because every moment, if you really look at it, he pauses for effect sometimes. He lowers that voice for effect, right? He does all that for effect. And if you watch the same speech for two different locations, you'll see exactly the same thing, man. I'll be like, almost like I'll say a 98% match, Brian. So great point, man. Great point. Lots of sales lessons here. Well, the thing is, he puts in a lot of visuals. Like the first one was Pete was the analogy, right? Instead of saying 250,000 people, he said what? That's like 27 747s going down every week. I mean, that's a visual. When he framed the conversation, it's not 7 years, not 7 days, but it's not 7 years. It's somewhere in between. These are little things. The storytelling about the kids in Afghanistan, right? When he asked the Marines, tell me some stories, and he thought they were going to tell stories of heroism, but they wound up telling stories of things they didn't expect. That's what customers love to hear because the stories will stick, man. And so, yeah, absolutely on the business side. Great point, man. Victor, love this format. Wow, my man. It helped a lot to grab these little things that Simon offers more than his knowledge. It is. It's all about all those little things he does because it's one, he does all these little things and you're like, wow, this is a polished speaker. But if you look at him, and this is going to come off wrong, and I don't mean it as offensive, he doesn't look polished. By that, because there's a guy in blue jeans, just kind of, just going to tell a story, right? So he's not, I shouldn't say polished, he's not your archetype, your stereotype of a polished speaker. That's what even makes him more, I think, endearing, man. So if Simon ever sees this, dude, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just letting you know. It's just that most people expect, suit and tie, dressed up guy with the nice suit, with the slim pants, the nice jacket, the whole bit. And he comes out there like, hey, let me just talk to you, and it's powerful. And he always has that flip chart. What's funny, by the way, side note, he has a flip chart, right? And usually when I see him speak, he doesn't use the flip chart. When he does use the flip chart, he writes like 4 or 5 letters, and that's his whole speech on one flip chart. On this one, he didn't even bother with the 4 or 5 letters, man. Juan, great to hear from you, man. Thanks for joining. Quiet power is a gift to have, but if you have a big personality like you have a big personality, so you can have both quiet power and a big presence. It is true. I like, there's times where you can do the big personality if you want, right? But then there's times you can just bring it down when you have to. I just, like I said, I'm not saying one style is better than the other. I am not. I'm just simply highlighting that if you're an introvert and you're not a power speaker, then this is the guy you should model, right? Because that's what I'm trying to emphasize. You can find a lot of power speakers, but to have somebody do it with that quiet power, man, that thing that just hums, and the storytelling, I mean, that to me, Todd, is huge, man. So good point, man. Good point. Love it. How do you become natural, but at the same time entertaining and getting people engaged without duplicating Simon's style? Because it wouldn't be natural for them. No, I mean, it's exactly. When I started studying like Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, I was like, I can't do it that way. It just never came out naturally. It just doesn't. So, remember that Bruce Lee line I always talk about? Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, then add what is uniquely yours. So when you're watching a guy like Simon Sinek, you absorb what's natural. I can do that. You discard what's not natural, and then you add what is uniquely yours. If you think about it, I mean, I was joking with somebody, maybe it was Juan. I was talking to Juan, I think when we were in Puerto Rico, I was joking how Simon Sinek has a certain format, the way he sets up a story. Like he'll start out with, the America has a problem, right? Or he'll start, in 1963, ... And he'll go, I mean, there's certain formats. So you can study structure, you know what I mean? Because then you're going to have to add your own stories and your own humor stories. You can't copy those. You should use your own. But there is a structure. If you really study that speech, there's little structures throughout that. There's a bunch of mini speeches in there that he's tied together. He's strung them together, Rod, to make that. So you can study the structure. Your style has to be all yours, man. So you're right. I also like how he takes his time. He leaves space between the words, and that shows a level of maturity that many lack. Dude, man, for that one, my man, you're going to get the... Not that one. You get this one. This is better. So, Sparrow's Tail, this is important because he's not afraid to leave that space. He doesn't try to fill it. He stops, he doesn't try to fill it. And that is a sign of maturity. It's a sign of confidence, like he knows what he's doing. He's letting the words, he'll say the words, and it's almost like he's waiting for them to hit the back of the wall. He's going to let them travel for a while. He's going to let it hit bottom. He's going to let you reflect. And a lot of great speakers, if not all best speakers, do that. They know how to do that really well, man. So, you described Dan Lok with the suit description. Yeah, I mean, I'll just leave that one alone, man. I mean, I like Dan. I've seen his stuff. He wears that red pimped out suit. That's not what I was referring to, though. I was referring to like speakers who wear like suits, ties, they're very formal looking. That's the archetype. Dan Lok, he's like a totally different dresser. You know what I mean? He's got the Las Vegas look going on. And that's his style. But see, you look at a guy like Dan Lok, and the way he dresses, that's part of his persona. And so I would never criticize that because that's his persona. That's his Superman suit. You know what I mean? When he puts on that especially that red one, that red, flashy, shiny, pimped out, back in the day suit, I'm like, okay, there he is. But again, he may come from a culture that's very flashy, right? That's his background, and that's okay, man. If that works for you, like I said, so those are two extremes. You got Simon Sinek over here, right? Basic blue jeans and gym shoes, and you got Dan Lok, right? High, shiny Las Vegas suits, and then you're going to have everything in between. Again, at the end of the day, it's the content, man, that carries. I think it's really the content. Let me see. So let me see. Brian, what you got here? His style allows him to be received genuine and real instead of fake and flashy. To me, yeah, it captures your attention. I think it does, man. I think his style is more for the intellectual crowd, right? The cerebral crowd, the emotional engagement crowd that's really into the storytelling, and he does it so well, man. TJ, you're very welcome, man. What do you got here? Dean Daniels. He speaks like the employee to the employer. I guess he's talking to managers. Yeah, he is. He's talking to managers, Dean, and he's kind of letting them know. He's talking to them, but not talking to them. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, I'm just talking here. I'm just talking, Dean. I'm just talking. Here's what managers should be doing. I'm not saying it should be you. I'm just talking. I'm just sharing stories. And I think that is brilliant. So, and I'm with Gator on that one as well. All right, folks, man, that's all I had, man. I said on this, I got one more. I don't dress like Dan Lok. Great information. I got you. So anyway, last but I always got to do my final thoughts, man. So final thoughts. The reason I wanted to deconstruct this one was, again, I like Simon Sinek. I really like him. I like his speeches. I like his style. And if you find this, by the way, I put the link in the description so you can see the video, and check out Motivational Madness, the guys who do daily motivations. Great videos all the time. So if you need some emotional juice, man, those are the guys. And again, I'll push the Start With Why book. If you haven't read Simon Sinek's Start With Why, get that book. Latest book, Infinite Games. Highly recommend that book. I should do a book review on that one as well. So as I went through these and I was chopping up the video, I really started appreciating his structure and how he tells little stories in between to grab people. And he's coming in and out. And I think Gator pointed out it's that authenticness that he has. And I think Sparrow's Tales talked about, that quietness, right? Giving, saying something and then leaving some space afterwards, just so you can really enjoy it. So what I think I'm going to do with this one, actually, as a reminder for those of you who are part of the Sales Velocity Academy, what I might do with this one is I think I'm going to create a special course around this one. Let me know what you think of my idea, and I'm going to put it in the Sales Velocity Academy with more details, more notes, and then what I think I'm going to do is also actually deconstruct the structure and actually write those structures out. So as you go through the videos, you'll be able to see what he does as structure. So if you're going to do a presentation, you'll be able to use some of those structures as well. So give me about a week or so, and I'm going to have this course up there. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'll let you know that it's the Simon Sinek deconstruction presentation. But I think if I can provide you with a leader guide to say, okay, look what he's doing in this one. Here's how he's structuring it. Let me know what you think of that. I think it'll be pretty cool to do that. And as always, man, thank you for joining, man. You guys are awesome. Again, do me a favor. Hit the like button if you like this one. Share it with at least one person. That's all I'm asking. And on that note, this is Victor Antonio with Sales After Dark, always reminding you, selenate hard when you know how. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.